All right. This is a life-changing conversation. The kind of stuff that I am going to talk to Jenna about, I want my kids to learn. I want my kids to learn because when you understand what is important to you, when you understand how to create a life for real, to create a life that is based on your truth. This is her new book. How Are You Really? She was on the Today Show yesterday. She is going to be here live with us in a second, everybody. Let's see. Here we go. Okay, here we are.
I have on these eye patches. Have you ever had these?
No.
They feel like heaven. Sawyer, I'll send him the replay. You don't worry about it, Mama. I got you.
Okay, awesome. All right, so look at everybody. This is my friend, Jenna. Jenna has so many accolades that too many to list. She is a best-selling
That don't even
author.
matter.
They don't even matter. And I love that. And the reason why it's important that you understand, she's picking up right now from a hotel room in New York City. She is on a book tour. She has two babies under the age of 4, 5. How old's?
Three and a half and
Three and a
7
half?
months.
Okay, and her husband has left the hotel room so she can do this conversation with me. Yeah. And I'm so excited that you're here with us, Jenna, because I personally think your story is remarkable. And I want to go over the details again because so many more people have flooded into this conversation. 2011, you buy a camera for $300 and you start a side hustle. Yeah. You're working at Target. Yeah. I don't want anybody to tell me right now, I can't do it. I don't have the resources. Jenna is living proof that if you're willing to put in the work, if you're willing to have a breakthrough in courage, if you're willing to study what other people are doing, if you're willing to take some risks over time, you can step by step create a life of your dreams. Because just 8 years later, she has built a business that created $7.5 million in revenue in the middle of Minnesota, people.
That's right.
And she's only just getting started. She started the #1 marketing podcast from her car. Okay. Yeah. So don't tell me you don't have the equipment. Yeah. And so, Jenna, there's so much I want to talk to you about. And we're going to get to some people's questions. Yeah. And for those of you that are tuning in, we're going to hear a little bit about Jenna's story, #1, because I know some of you are scratching your head going, wait a minute. Like, what's the secret? How? Secondly, in your book, How Are You Really? You have your book divided into 3 parts. We're going to talk about all 3 parts. Yeah. Who you are, who you have, and who has you, and what you're going to do about it. And we're going to focus a lot on who you have because a lot of people watching struggle with a lack of a support system. Yeah. And so I want to hear from you, what are the first 1 or 2 things that people need to do in order to build one? And then finally, I also want to dig into what it's been like to launch your first book, because there are so many people that want to launch a book. And here you are in New York City, having just crushed it on the Today Show. This is the first time she's done this, everybody. And so we're going to get the secrets. But first, let's talk about your path, because right now, more than ever, especially for women, you and I believe that it is so powerful when you are in charge of creating your life and creating your income, whatever that means for you. And so how did you go from literally working at Target and starting a side hustle? Why, first of all, did you decide to buy a camera in 2011 for $300? What was it inside you that had you want to do that?
You know what's crazy, Mel? So I was listening to this meditation the other day, and it actually gave me a vision of why I did all of that a decade ago in a way that I never comprehended. And in the meditation, the guy said, for all of us, there was a flame. And for most of us, we feel like ashes right now. And it
hold
said,
on,
all it
hold
takes
on,
is...
hold on,
yeah,
hold on.
Yeah.
I want you to stop right there.
Yeah.
Say that piece again. Did you hear her, everybody? I'm going to say it. For most of us, there is a flame, but we feel like ashes.
Yes.
How many of you feel like you are a pile of ashes right now?
Yes. And
If
it
that's
goes on to
you,
say, all it takes
I'm
is
listening.
one ember, just one ember and the right fanning to create the flame again. And when I heard that, I realized that, like, for me, my camera was the ember, and like that brought back the passion in my life. Because I was in a job where they literally handed me a 5-year plan. Like, they sat me down and they were like, here is the next 5 years of your life. And I was like, not a part of the conversation, right? And it was nothing to do with the
Well,
corporation.
hold
It
on.
had
Let's just
nothing to
put
do.
you at the
Yeah.
scene. So everybody, what she's talking about is she was excelling at Target. They literally were like, you're doing a great job. So great that we've got a 5-year plan for you, which a lot of people actually want in their jobs. They're like, that's the ladder I'm going to climb. But for you, as Target's like, we love you. Here you are, what we're going to do about it.
Yeah.
You're like, something started to feel like ashes, right?
Yes. Well, and it's like crazy because I've always been an artistic, passionate person, and I just don't resonate these days with the like pursue your passions conversations, because I think most of us don't even feel passionate anymore. It's like, if I knew what my passion was, maybe I could be in pursuit of it. But for so many of us, we've gotten into this monotonous rhythm or this hustle mentality where it's like, wait, what actually lights me up? Like, when do I actually feel joy? And it's crazy because I didn't buy a camera to start a photography business. I bought a camera to feel passionate again. And so I remember it was like the first thing in my adult life where I would like sleep with my camera on my nightstand because I wanted to learn how to use it. Like, I wanted to like pick it up any time of day, whether it's dark or light out, and create something with it. And it was like this reminder of like, my childlike curiosity and creativity never left me. I just wasn't fanning the flame of it, right? Yeah. And so that was the beginning for me. And I remember the first time somebody offered to pay me to take photos, I was like, wait, what? I can make money doing this? And it was just like this crazy awakening of like, you can be passionate again, you can get paid to pursue your passions, but you also can take charge of your life. And one thing I want to note, because I think it can be really unrelatable unintentionally, is when people talk about building businesses, they make it seem like they just abandon their past identity or the thing that they were doing. But every single time I've started something new in my career, I have maintained the thing that has gotten me to that point and used that to fuel and fund the next dream. So
all right,
every single thing.
I want to stop here because I want to pull out the tactic. Okay, so
do it.
We're already dropping knowledge, everybody. I don't even know if this is going to be 5 or 7 or 9 or 11, but I'm going to pull this out for everybody so that you can actually track to what she's saying. So first things first, will you repeat? Well, first things first, everybody, the book is How Are You Really? This is my friend, Jenna. And she is incredible. And I've pinned the title of the book and her account to the top of the chat. You should be asking questions in the comments right now, okay? Because we're going to come to your comments, but I'm going to distill this down. So takeaway number 1, please repeat the meditation sentence that is the core for all the teaching that we're going to talk about today. Repeat that, please, Jenna. That's takeaway 1.
So it says, for all of us, there was a fire, but for many of us, we feel like ashes. And all it takes is one tiny ember and the right things and people to fan it to create the flame again. And it's the meditation is called, I think it's called Sit Around the Fire. If you Google it on Spotify, you can find it. And it's just so beautiful. But to me, I think that's so exemplary of where so many people are, is we just feel like a pile of ashes, and we forget that all it takes is one little spark, just one tiny spark, and the right things in your life to fan it. That's the biggest thing.
Awesome. So takeaway number 1, everybody, is that there is still an ember burning inside of you. And it feels like curiosity. It feels like the things that you enjoyed doing when you were a kid. It feels like the things that you're drawn to. And what Jen is trying to tell you is that step number one is to pay attention to that thing, even if it's barely smoldering. The thing that makes you come alive a little, you have to lean toward it, because that is the pathway toward aligning your life to what really matters to you and is going to work for you. The second takeaway that you have learned is that in the beginning, when you take that ember, right, this is not about marrying $1 million businesses with it. This is about fanning the things you're curious about and interested in and drawn toward, and surrounding yourself or following people that are doing the thing that you're drawn toward. Even when you said, Jenna, I just wanted to pick up the camera to learn how to use it.
Yeah.
I felt something flutter inside of me, because I don't really know how to take great pictures, and I've always wanted to. I rely on my camera. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's interesting. That might be the little ember inside me. There might be something about leaning more into doing the creativity and being on the other side of the camera, or learning more about it, than being on this side where I am. And so, guys, that's an example of an ember starting to get fanned by Jenna. And so that's takeaway number 2. Now, what I want you to understand is that you kind of kept leaning toward this thing that had you come alive. How did you go from like, okay, I'm now letting myself use this $300 used camera from Craigslist. I'm noticing something come alive in me because I am pursuing something that I'm curious about. How did that go from, I've just brought something back into my life that makes me not feel like a zombie anymore, to you making money taking photos for people? How did that happen?
So my brother and sister-in-law got married in Jamaica, and it was right around the time that Drew and I were planning our wedding. And so I was in on all of the wedding vlogs. This was pre-Pinterest days. And I asked them if I could bring my camera with to Jamaica and take pictures. And one of the things that I love every single year is when I get a reminder on Facebook of me sharing an album of photos that was titled My First Wedding Photography Project. Not, you know, so-and-so's wedding. My first wedding photography project, meaning there will be more. I was so bold in those early days when I really came alive with it, where if I saw somebody get engaged, I was like, oh my gosh, congratulations. Hey, by the way, do you need a photographer? I would love to take pictures for you. I'm learning how to do it. And I still have messages like that where I really just decided, okay, how can I serve people while I learn? And I think a lot of times we hold back on our gifts because we want them to be perfect, or we want to have the perfect experience, or we want it to be tried and true before we even experiment with it. But I just like started taking pictures. I took pictures of cats. I did senior photos. I took boudoir photos. I mean, I did every type of photography. One, to learn what I loved and what I didn't love, but two, to just refine the art of it. And I think it's really important to note, there's a line that I've said to you recently in your own life, but also a line that is in my book. And it talks about when I was still working at Target, but I knew that I wanted to be a photographer. And it felt like I was riding two Clydesdale horses going in opposite directions, because I had this deep passion, but I also needed the security and the safety to be able to pursue it. And so I think a lot of us find ourselves at these crossroads where it's like, I really want one thing, but I need to fund that dream, and I need to have the safety and security to stay creative. And so it was like, I just like worked my job, my full-time job, and then went home and worked on the side hustle. And everything I've ever done in my business, whether it's my podcast or even writing this book, was a side hustle, because we're so quick to abandon something when it doesn't serve us any longer that we miss seeing the way that the things that we're doing can serve us and propel us forward. And so my full-time job funded the dream and gave me the ability to stay creative and not feel so risky. And I think people are quick to abandon the things that have gotten them this far, not recognizing that those things can carry them forward.
Okay, so I'm going to show you something here.
Okay.
So this is, she basically used this analogy because I was feeling completely overwhelmed and needing to make a choice between the old way I did business and a new way I'm doing business. And Jenna was like, Mel, you're literally like riding two Clydesdale and they're galloping developing in different directions, and it's time to like basically hop off one of them. But I want you guys to all hear something, because I think one of the things that really keeps you stuck, and yes, I'm talking to you as you're watching Jenna and I talk, and the book, How Are You Really, is pinned to the top of the comment, and it's going to hold your hand like a best friend and walk you step by step through everything we're talking about. Is that step one we've already talked about. There's an ember inside you that is really kept alive by your curiosity, the dreams and the passions and the artistry that is woven into your DNA is still smoldering in there. And conversations, podcasts, music, certain people start to fan the flame of it, and you can feel it. And it is essential in your life that you allow yourself to step toward that. And here's where people make a mistake. And that is, you get impatient, because you get impatient with the fact that it takes time for that ember to start to become a flame, and for that ember that is a flame to start to fire up your bank account. And so too many of you do not continue forward doing two things. So there are two things you got to do in life. There's the stability of the job at Target, or the job that is sucking your soul dry, or the thing that I was doing that I even loved, which was keynote speaking, that was starting to kill me because I was missing out on my entire family because I was gone all the time. And then there are the things like taking photos of friends, and, you know, writing or experimenting with podcasting, or starting to journal every day, or picking up the paintbrush again, or starting to follow travel bloggers that start to stir something inside you, that start to awaken something inside you. That is the fan and the flame that we're talking about here, people. And so you got to do both. These are the two Clydesdales until this all of a sudden has a path that can start to pay for your life. And look, for some of you, I'm going to tell you something. Attaching money to the thing that fans the flame chokes the soul of it. And so always having something that is allowing the foundation of your life to work, and being intentional. I can't even speak this morning. I haven't had my coffee yet. Being intentional about making room to have really focused time to fan the flame. Yeah. That's also a formula for a life. Just because Jenna and I have built businesses from scratch that have impacted millions of people's lives, and we are proud of that, doesn't mean that's what you need to do. Yeah. Yeah. You might come alive simply because you allow yourself to freaking paint again. You might come alive because the fan and the ember inside of you is really about cutting sugar out of your life. Yep. Or learning how to get out of bed when the alarm rings and take a walk every morning. It might be something else entirely.
Can I tell you why I didn't write a business book?
Yes.
Because so much of what you just said has literally been the trajectory of this book process. So first off, I wrote the first manuscript without having a book deal, without having a contract, nothing. I wrote it without telling a soul. Like, my mom didn't even know. And it was because I wanted to write words that tell and not words that sell. And if you want to learn how to stifle your creativity quickly, add a deadline or add money to any project, and all of a sudden you're not an artist anymore. You're not creative. And I knew that about the creative process for me. And so I wanted to embark on it in a way that was like in the privacy of my own heart, where like it wasn't for the accolades, it wasn't for the performance, it wasn't for the feedback. It was what I really wanted to say. But the other thing, Mel, is that I started to write a business book because, of course, I have the Gold Digger podcast. It's a marketing podcast. I love business. But what you just said was so powerful, that entrepreneurship is the way for us, but it isn't meant for everyone. And I recognize that I love entrepreneurship because of the lifestyle I have. But the lifestyle that I have is not only reserved for entrepreneurs. It's reserved for all of us. It is possible for anyone who wants to wake up to their life and actually experience their days. And so it's interesting because it's like, when you're around entrepreneurial people, it's like, oh yeah, of course this is the way. We're wired differently. And so you could be a stay-at-home parent and be so fully awake to your life. You could work a 9 to 5 and be fully awake to your days
What
and
does
fully
that mean?
passionate.
What does that mean, be fully awake to your life?
You live fat minutes. And what I mean
Okay,
by that is
stop. Hold on. What is that? The hell is a fat? I'm sorry I keep interrupting you, but
no,
I'm like, wait, what? You're
you
dropping
live,
so many life-changing concepts, Jenna.
yes.
What the hell is a fat minute?
I want to live a life of fat minutes. Minutes so fat that I experience all 60 seconds of them. Like I want to literally sit in a minute and remember it. And like I feel like even in the midst of this book launch, like you've been messaging me. You sent me like an 8-second voice memo that like literally made me cry the other day, where you were like, just enjoy it. Just be there. This is gonna go by so fast. And I like got so emotional because I was like, I feel like I am. Like I feel like I am. I want my life to be filled with these fat minutes where it's like I know who I am, where I am, what I'm experiencing. I am awake to what's in front of me so that I don't look back and be like, I missed it. Because there's so many moments where it's like we're there, but we're not really there. And I think that's how a lot of people are experiencing their life, is that they're there, but they don't actually, they're not in their body. They're not in the moment. They're not in the experience. And so anyways, I just think it was wild because when I wrote my first manuscript, it was a business book. And when I finally did all the formal things of getting an agent and an editor, they were like, hey, Jenna, we don't want to be entrepreneurs, but we want a life like this. We want to experience this. How do we widen the lens of it? And I'm so grateful that we did that.
Yeah. I keep seeing a couple comments, so I want to address them. Okay.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that you write about, in fact, everybody, a third of the book is a section called Who You Have and Who Has You.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is, that there are so many people, whether they're marginalized by society, or they do not have family support, or they do not have financial resources, or they do not have a supportive friend group, or they are not married. How do you actually get support when you feel like you have none?
Yeah.
Where do you even begin? I mean, first of all, I would imagine it has to be about your mindset, because if you continue to tell your story, I'm fucked, or, like whatever, you're never going to even do the work, but to try to create a support system, whatever that looks like. But where would you advise somebody who has that story? Maybe it's because of circumstances of their life. Maybe it's a reality right now. A lot of people watch social media and listen to your podcast or watch us on YouTube, Jenna, because they don't have a support system. And so where do you begin if you're just feeling sort of rejected or jaded or alone?
Yeah. You and I have had so many conversations about this topic because I think it is so close to our hearts, especially as women and entrepreneurs. But, it's really interesting because there was this reel that was going around, and it was like, do you ever notice that sometimes the people closest in your life are the last ones to support you? And the thought was because they're watching you change and they're still stuck. And I think a lot of times that thought alone, or when we get excited about something, or when we decide we're going to change and the people closest in our life aren't supporting us, we just stop. We stop wanting to change. We stop trying to change our life. We stop trying to take control of our future, because we're like, how can the people literally sharing space with me or being in my life not support me? But what's so real to remember is that your change, while it might intimidate some, it is going to inspire so many more. And so you can't let that stop you. So here's the thing that I've realized, especially coming out of the pandemic, especially too as a mom of young ones, is like, how they always say, like, it takes a village. And I think a lot of people are looking around right now and saying, where is the village? Where are my
Okay,
people?
so stop. So I want to say this right now.
Yeah.
How many of you literally just, you're like, ding, 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 ding. I don't even have that family, Jenna. Where's the damn village? Okay. I'm ready to change. Where is everybody that is going to help me? How do you start? Because you know what book keeps coming to mind, and you're going to have to help me with the title, or can everybody watching help me crowdsource this? It's an incredible book. I have read it twice. I can't remember the name. I think the guy's first name is Chris. I think it's called The Master Plan. The dude is in jail. I love this book because I was a public defender in New York City doing criminal defense work. He was in jail, and I think it's called Master List. And he made a list, and he wrote it on a wall. And he made a commitment to himself that he was just going to figure out how to get and cross off everything on that list while he was in jail, getting in shape, studying and reading, becoming sober. And then, like, when he got out, step by step by step. And so I also think that the first step, everybody, it goes back to the embers. It goes back to the embers to fan the freaking flame for yourself and give yourself permission to tap into all those things that you really want to cross off the master list before you die. And you got to get intentional about feeling that ember and writing down what is there. And then I think Jenna can help us to figure out, how do we create, Jenna, a support system when we feel like we have no one, or we have been conditioned as women to believe that we cannot ask for help.
Oh my gosh. So there's an actual chapter in my book about asking for help, because even to this day, it's a struggle. And I shared this with our mutual friend, Ed Milet, but I had to recognize that for so many of us, asking for help feels weak. But if we reframe it and we recognize that asking for help gives someone else the opportunity to be strong, it changes everything. Like, my mom is here right now. She is a helper. Like, her Enneagram, she's a helper. And when I ask her for help and tell her how she can support me, it makes her come alive. It helps her to live out her passion. So one of the things is, if you don't have anyone around you, if you don't have any community, you have to put yourself in proximity of finding people. Whether it is taking your kids to the playground where other parents might be, whether it is going on a walk in your neighborhood, and if you see somebody outside, stopping and talking to them, whether it is going to sit in a coffee shop and having conversation with the barista. The thing is about community is that we're waiting for ours to show up, but we're not showing up. We're not out there. We're not the ones reaching out. We're not the ones sending the text messages. You know that I do this in my life literally every single day, where I reach out and I say to people, I say, hey, no need to respond. I just want you to know I'm thinking of you and I'm here. Shoot me a message if you need something. Or I'll say, hey, Mel, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at today, so I know how I can show up and support you? If you're at a 10, let me celebrate you. If you're at a 1, how can I be there for you? I'm not going to assume you're any sort of way, whether it's what you're showing online or where you're at in your life. And so it's like, we have to start with being the support if we want the support back. But then we also have to learn, how do we ask for help and liberate other people to step into their power of helping us? I think both of those things are things that we get wrong all the time.
You know, it's easy, everybody, to kind of give that a giant eye roll. Seriously? Like, I got nobody and you're telling me I'll get a cup of coffee and talk to people at the playground? I have a confession. I have a hard time, like, pushing myself to go out. I am a real homebody. And, you know, a lot of you know that we have recently sold our house outside of Boston of 25 years, and we have moved to a much more rural area in southern Vermont, where I do not have a lot of friends yet. And I noticed that the biggest obstacle in my way is me, because I sit in my house and I tell myself the story that there's only 3,000 people in this town. I'm never going to meet anybody. You know, there's nothing going on here. Like, but the truth is, I'm not actually doing anything. I'm not Googling what's going on. I'm not pushing myself to attend events. And so my own complaining and my story that I have no one is fueling behavior that keeps me isolated. And so the second that I started Googling stuff that's going on, I found a freaking drag queen bingo night at the local hotel to celebrate gay pride. I then bumped into a woman at the Walgreens parking lot who had a, hat on for RGB. And I'm like, hey, and we start talking. I invite her to drag queen bingo. Turns out she used to work for Alvin Ailey in New York City and moved to this tiny town. And so that is how it happens. Mm-hmm. And we want to think it's more complicated, but it's not. And what you're learning so far, this is the book. It'll hold your hand like a great friend. How are you really? To help you take control of your life. It starts with that ember. It starts with you. Oh my God. Chris Robbins, talk about support. I got to show you guys this. Chris just came up. Can you see that? The Aww. I love you post-it. Oh my God. Chris, come in and say hi to Jenna.
Oh, I miss him.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know why he does that? Because I started to tell him that I need more like words like that.
I just said that to Drew the other night.
Say hi to Jenna.
Hey, Jenna.
Drew and I literally had this conversation the other night. Hi, Chris.
How are ya?
I miss you.
I miss you
Look at my newest baby. Have you seen her?
Congratulations.
And look, we got YOLO here too, everybody.
Hi, pups. Oh, look at your cute little sticky note. You need to text my husband because Drew and I literally had this conversation the other night. And I was like ragging on him because I was like, I am a words of affirmation person. And he's like, I literally have a handwritten card waiting for you at home. And I was like, why did you not bring it to dinner for me?
Oh, shoot. There goes my Post-it note. You're going to have to grab it, honey.
Well,
love you, buddy.
Well, Chris is a touch guy. And I need to be better at the touch. I'm sorry. We're going to make this PG, guys, everybody.
Hey, congratulations.
Thank you, Chris. I love you, buddy.
Love you too. Best of luck.
Aww.
Oh, okay. I love him. And by the way, all of you are saying Chris Wilson, The Master Plan. That's the book, How I Went from a Life in Prison to a Life of Purpose. That book will change your life as well. And you got to pick that up right after you pick up How Are You Really? Because Jenna's going to, if you're not clear about it, you can't make a master plan. And it is about fanning the embers, everybody. And then it's about getting clear about what you need and surrounding yourself with people and stopping down that story that there's nobody there and life isn't fair and I can't do this and nobody likes me and it's not fair that I don't have a spouse or a supportive family or any of that stuff. Because those embers, they turn into a smoldering fire and flame inside you. And we're giving you the steps, and the steps are simple. What makes it hard is you don't take it. And that comes to number 3. And this is the most important part of your book, in my opinion, because it aligns with what I'm constantly smashing people about every day. Okay, great. I get it, everybody. You got imposter syndrome. You've screwed up your life. Nobody's there to support you. You got a ton of regrets. You have trauma. You have this. I'm not trying to downplay it. I'm trying to say, welcome to life. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? Because complaining about it, being angry at other people, like being in your misery, succumbing to your emotion, even though it can be overwhelming. And look, you're talking to a woman who literally for the last 6 weeks has been in a mental health breakdown. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? That's what that's what you need to ask yourself. And that's what the last third of this book is about. So what does that mean to you, Jenna? What are you going to do about it?
So here's the thing. When I think about the question, how are you really, or how am I really? Most of us don't want to answer it because we know if we're honest and the answer is I'm not okay or I'm not happy or I'm not good, that then we have to do something about it. It's like we have to confront that reality, and that's what will set you free, really. And so one of the things that I think it's wrong so often in this world with so much information is that we try to go so big so fast that all of a sudden when we crash, we say, why did I ever think I could do that? Who was I to think I could follow through? Who was I to think that I could start the business or lose the weight or get healthier or seek out the relationship? And what we're forgetting is that, like, if we can start to make the smallest progress, like progress that no one can see, progress that isn't Instagrammable, progress that just simply proves to ourselves that we are actually following through, that we are actually progressing and moving forward, that we are actually capable. It's like we're strengthened, and when we're strengthened, the confidence shows up, and when we're confident, we show up in a different way, and when we show up in a different way, we change, and when we change, everything happens. And so it's like we live in a world that literally wants everything to be pretty, and we want it to be showcased. It's like, imagine if you and I were sitting in Vermont and I was like, hey Mel, let's go grab some chairs and watch this tree grow. It would be so boring, right? Nobody would do it, because on the outside, what we see, we're not seeing anything happening. But underneath the surface, those roots are strengthening and lengthening and growing and reaching and giving this growth the roots that it needs to be sustained. And so to me, it's like when we think about what are we going to do about it, we often try to go big. We go too big, and then we live in this shame cycle that we didn't follow through, that of course we weren't able to do it, when in reality, we need to make such tiny little actions. There's a quote in the book that talks from BJ Fogg where it's like, pick the most minuscule, tiny little steps to progress so that you can build up your belief in yourself. Because the way you show up to your battles is directly linked to the warrior you believe you are. And most people don't even feel like a warrior today. Most people don't even feel like they can show up to the battle. And so it's like, how do we build up our confidence through such infinitely small progress that no one else will see, but that we can feel? That's what I think is the difference.
You know, I've been working on something that I don't think anybody can see. I've started to notice after a couple years of therapy and all these big changes that I put into place, and I wasn't even aware of it. And heck, this is even like with the high five habit that, you know, I started to break through the self-criticism, and the high five habit profoundly changed how I see myself. But I still had a layer deeper, Jenna, a dialogue that I think is generational in the women in my life, of being in conflict about what's going on and simultaneously feeling grief and regret. I've been really blown away and really sad by how much I've tortured myself, because I have this habit of focusing on what's wrong and focusing on what I didn't do in the past. And I live there because the women in my life, my grandmothers, my mom, like, that's their kind of negative mental experience. And so I, every day, and none of you can see this, I catch myself going there. I catch myself slowly torturing myself that where I am isn't the right place, that what I'm doing isn't the right thing, and it is robbing me of what you said, which is creating fat minutes where you can feel the full 60 seconds and be present to it. And so this is something, everybody, that I am working on every single day that nobody can see. It's sort of like when you're doing sit-ups for the first time, you're not going to see any change in the mirror for probably 8 weeks. And I think the same is true for me. And the incremental stuff that I'm doing, what are you going to do about it? How are you really? Because the truth is, how are you really is, how am I really is I'm doing all this stuff, but in here, I'm like torturing myself because of old mental habits. And I am committed to catching it and noticing it. And then all I do to break that apart, Jenna, is I try to have what you call a fat minute. I try to just go, where am I?
Yes. It's all about awareness. What's so crazy is that for so long, I totally believed that I could never meditate. I was like, my brain doesn't work that way. I can't slow it down. I can't not think of anything. Like, I thought that meditating was like emptying your mind, when in reality, it's just having an awareness for your thoughts. And when I shifted it, I am like obsessed with meditation. Like, before I went on the Today Show, I freaking meditated. I was like, who am I? Like, I don't even understand, but it's wild how much of our lives we go through without noticing, whether it's the people, the feelings, how we're really, our thoughts, our narratives, the things that we're beating ourselves up for, we go through and we just don't even notice. We don't even feel it. Like there's a chapter in my book about feeling your feelings. Like it's not about just letting happiness be the destination in our life. It's moving through life with this richness of feeling our feelings. Our feelings are communicating things to us. And so it's all about awareness. And it's like when you start to pay attention, man, your life becomes more vibrant. And that richness of the vibrancy, even the highs and the lows, it makes you feel your life. It makes you awake to it in a totally different way. I love that.
I want to just say one thing.
Do you need to pick somebody up from the airport? I'm slightly concerned here.
Yeah, I do. It's okay. She'll just start anxiety calling. And she started calling in. She's calling Chris. She asked me to trigger. It's all good. We're going to go get her. And in the middle of the panic attack, by the way, the ember is flaming because she's like, oh, and can we stop at Java Juice and get coffee? I'm like, oh, deal. Okay. So here's one thing I want to say about that. Feeling your feelings can be terrifying for those of us like me who have spent a lifetime keeping themselves busy or drunk at night. Not drunk, but, buzzed, so that I didn't have to feel. Like, I think one of the reasons why when I really figured out sort of what I was passionate about, writing, coaching, speaking, that I threw myself into it is because when I was focused on something, blaming my feelings and my mind wasn't spinning. And so I've been doing everything. And how are you really? And the slowing down, the getting back into my life, the being honest with myself about how the busyness was really not making me happy. And I will tell you guys that when you start to slow down and you start to truly feel what's there that you've been numbing or running away from or like arguing against, that bridge between the old you and the transition to truly like that ember inside you of how you want to feel in your life, which is in it and present to it. Crossing that bridge can be terrifying, but you can do it. Mm-hmm. And so it goes back to what we started in the very beginning. There is an ember that's burning inside you, even if you feel like a burnt toast piece of crisp pile of ashes. Yeah. That I hope that this conversation has fanned so that you feel it burning a little bit of yearning. The book is How Are You Really? My friend is Jenna. You should follow her. You should go get that book. She has all kinds of stuff. If you go to her website that you can, look at. And if there's one thing that you want somebody to do as a tactical takeaway, something that started to stir inside them, what is one step that you would want someone to do who's listening to this, Jenna?
I want them to speak their dream out loud. I want them to share it with just one person so that you can start to share that passion. Because here's the thing, even if they have zero interest or zero knowledge around what that passion is, one, you're inviting them to share what they're passionate about. But two, you're letting someone into the fact that you want to change. And that in and of itself is going to hold you to a level of accountability that will help you to progress and take that first tiny step.
Well, let's take it right now. So wherever you're watching this, whether it's Instagram Live or YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever this video is appearing right now, I want you to go to the comments and I want you to, write what was the question again?
What is the spark? What is your passion? What do you want to change? Just share that dream out loud, even if it's so small. Share it out loud.
For those of you that are going to write something snarky, get out of here. Seriously, I feel bad for you. If you show up and watch a video like this and what is there is like some sort of smack talk, that should make you feel sad for yourself. This conversation is an invitation to take your life seriously, to take your dreams seriously, to wipe that resignation, that cynicism, that trauma, that self-doubt, that garbage that somebody else put into your nervous system and your brain. Wipe it away for just a second and lean toward what's burning inside you. And then find the courage to write the damn thing down. Get it out of your brain, out of your heart, and into the world, where the world can fan the flame for you. I'm not kidding. Like, I'm not screwing around here. I'm not sitting here because we just want to talk to you. Jenna and I have a commitment in the world to move you to take action, to move you through cynicism, to move you to a level of honesty with yourself, as she says, living your truth one answer at a time. And so this is an invitation that I don't see enough of you taking as I look in the comments right now. You're not going to change your life by sitting there thinking about it and listening. You will change your life by getting honest with yourself about how you are really, and then finding the courage to speak that truth, to write that truth, and then allow the world and the people around you and conversations and the magic that's in life to start to fan that ember that you recognized into something incredible.
Amen.
Jenna, I freaking love you, woman.
I love you too. I'm so grateful. Everyone that's watching, I just want you to know, one, Mel, you have been doing the work behind the scenes, and I see it and I honor it. But two, this woman shows up. I was awake the night before my book was released. I woke up at like 3 a.m. and I thought of two people in my life, Mel Robbins and my friend Jamie Kern Lima. And I thought about how they were the only people that like picked up the phone to check in. And so if you want community, you've got to be community. And you have been doing that for me and for so many other people, but it just means the world to me. So just thank you for that. I love you.
Well, you model it too. And that's, I think you get back what you give, everybody.
Yeah.
You won't get it back from everyone, but you'll get it back from the people that you're supposed to get it back from. So whatever it is that's missing in your life, start giving it to other people and you will get it back. You will get it back. Drop the attachment for who gives it back to you and pay attention who does, because those are the folks that are meant for you. And you and I are certainly meant to be doing life together, Jenna.
Always.
Go
pick up your copy of the book. I'm so excited.
The book, everybody.
I love you, Mel.
Oh, I forgot to ask you one more question.
Everybody.
My husband's not banging on the door yet, so I have one more question. For those people who just wrote, I really want to publish a book. I want to write my memoir. I want to write a New York Times bestseller. I have a movie script inside me. Can you just quickly share some nugget? I love what you said about you wrote the book without trying to sell it. Like, what would your nugget be for those first-time authors? Because this is your first book. It is already a bestseller. It is already #1 on Amazon, all over the place. But what is your advice? The one nugget for those of you who just wrote down they want to write a book?
Do the one thing that is required to write a book and start writing. Open up a Google Doc. I literally have a picture. The day I decided to write a book was the day that some woman who I just met said this one line to me, and I want everyone to listen to this, even if you don't want to write a book. Here's the line. I went to get a massage in a town of 1,200 people in the northernmost tip of Minnesota, and this woman said, I'm an intuitive person, and I want to tell you something that came up. And she said to me, she said, there is something you need to do, and you know what it is, and I need you to go out and do it. And she looked me dead in the eye and she said, do you know what I'm talking about? And it could have been anything. And I said, it's write a book. And that night I went home and opened up a Google Doc and titled the document, I'm going to write a book. And I started writing. And so if there is a dream on your heart, first off, there is something in your life that you need to do and you know what it is. I'm not going to tell you what it is. Mel's not going to tell you what it is. There's something you need to do and you already know what it is, and I need you to go out and do it. But secondly, I need you to do the thing that is actually going to move you forward and not everything around it. We overcomplicate everything with all of the details. We procrastinate because we want to be perfect. Do the actual thing. If it's a podcast, sit down and hit record. If it's a book, open up the Google Doc. If it's a YouTube channel, hit record on your video. Whatever it is you want to do, do the actual thing. And that's going to move you closer to your dreams.
I love this. Here's your visual. How many of you buy journals all the time, but you don't actually do the thing, which is writing them? How many of you have lots of like things that you've got to get ready to do the thing, but you don't actually do the thing? There you go. That, by the way, is the ember. The ember is the thing you want to do. So that question, There is something that you need to do, and you know what it is. Go do it. That's your ember. And with that, Jenna and I are going to leave you. I love you, Jenna.
I love you too.
Congratulations on an incredible book launch. Thank you for being my friend. I love you, love you, love you. Give Drew a big hug. And for those of you watching, I just want to tell you, in case nobody else tells you, I love you and I believe in you and your ability to create a better life. And so does Jenna. Now go do it.
Always.
Bye,
love
everybody.
you. High five.
Hey, it's Mel. Thank you so much for checking this video out. And if you like this one, I have a feeling you're going to like this one too. I'll see you there.